Hey everyone, it's that time of the week. It's Friday, which means it's time to deploy. I'm joined as always by Jim Pelletier. Jim, how was your week?
Yeah, really good, really good. Had interview parties this week, so that was good fun. What about you?
I'm almost in the same outfit. So interview
Yeah,
parties, eh? We're hiring. That's great.
end of
Yeah,
year
I think.
parties. Sorry,
Oh, sorry, end of years. I thought you
end
meant
of year.
interview parties. I'm like, is
Yeah,
this a new term that
uh,
we've come up with? And it's an interview
yeah.
party. There you
Every
go.
hire we throw a party. Yeah,
That's right. That would be awesome, actually.
it would be
End of
good.
years parties, yes.
Yeah, yeah,
So yeah, down in Melbourne, I know that they went out for a few beers, as you do in Melbourne. Melbourne will always be Melbourne, and I am too cool for Melbourne. For those who don't live
yeah.
in Australia, that's a bit of an inside joke, but Melbourne is considered the coolest city in Australia. So there you go. That's awesome. Yeah, we're reaching the end of the year and wrapping up some last minute items and putting a bow on our year that was. I had an excellent year. I don't know about you guys on your team, but I know that in on my side of the house, we were very, very busy. And then looking back, we did a lot.
Yeah, yeah. We did do a lot. It was there was so much going on. It was actually a little sort of hard to keep it all in your mind at one time. But we really scaled up how many things that we can do on one instance and got some solid plans in for horizontally scaling. Yeah, we really had a great year.
I think 2024 is going to be the year of, it's sort of like going to be like speaking of parties, it's going to be a bit of our scalability coming out party for Octopus, it sounds like,
Yeah,
based on the work that you're doing.
yeah, it should be. It should be. I'm really hoping soon to start having a chat to people about that might want to run, heaps more deployments and really start getting some talking to some customers about it. I suppose.
That's awesome. All right, well, as my voice cracks, and that's how emotional I am about this. Let's get into the latest news. So, this is a blog post that was written by Sean, talking about how to bulk update the execution container image. So, the execution container image is the image used by workers for when running your deployments, etc. And so, the challenge here is that when you're utilizing worker tools, which is basically utilized by the worker for executing against your containers. This is the image that we provide. Updating that across all of the available execution containers can be a bit tricky. So what Sean did was he wrote a PowerShell script and he targeted the API to basically rapidly update all of them. And so you can run this in the context of a runbook, or you could run this outside of the context of Octopus altogether if you wanted to. And so he's declared a bunch of variables here. The script itself is, not too heavy, but it's basically doing a bunch of gets as you do, and then as it does for each one that's available, it will go ahead and update the image container, the execution container rather, that's there. So you can see he's utilizing targeting the worker tools here. And then if it's running on Ubuntu and the image is not equal to the Linux, I guess, I'm not sure what he's doing here, sorry. But he's basically
Yeah.
updating the image. And so he's doing that one for Ubuntu and one for Windows, obviously, because we support both. And then he's updating the deployment process accordingly for each of that, and according also for the runbook. So this, more than anything, is a really good example of showcasing kind of like what you can do with our API. And writing these scripts are not difficult. I mean, they're pretty easy to do, and uh, I think it's a great example of what's possible. So great little post there by Sean, kind of updating the execution container image. So well done.
Deploying the container image, something. Deploy the deployment. I don't know.
That's right.
Seems
It's
deploy
turtles all
section.
the way down, is it?
Yeah, yeah.
That's right. This is another article that was posted by Andy. This is the difference between day zero, day one, and day two operations. So, very important to make sure that you understand these concepts because you'll hear this often in the DevOps space, in the Kubernetes space, in the platform engineering space. And so, Andy goes through the fact that day zero, this is basically asking all the questions of planning. What are we doing? What do we got going here? What do we need? What do we have to contend for? Day one, operations. Basically, this is when it's about your deployments. So, how are we executing relative to our deployments? And obviously, utilizing a tool like Octopus will help a great deal. And day two, I love his term. It's the Boxing Day of software development. The fun stuff is over. Celebrations over a successful delivery are behind you. It's time to embrace reality for a while. Being Canadian, I can tell you, everyone hated Boxing Day because the Christmas cheer had worn off, the snow was still there, and all you wanted was a little bit of warm weather. So you were tired of hearing Christmas carols. And so this is a very apt analogy, in my opinion. So
Oh,
this is what happens after deployment. So typically monitoring, observability comes into play. And so understanding these concepts of day zero, day one, day two, very, very important. I thought Andy did a great job of showcasing that.
yeah, nice one.
Yeah. We have a bunch of videos that have been posted in the last week. As I've said before, we post all the time. So our last episode here, where you and I were chatting about the new sample project, we've also got a couple of videos. I took some snapshots of the video segments that we took. So if you're interested about the segment that Jim and I talked about, the reporting tools for getting your deployment data, we talked about that and put it in its own video. Last night I spoke to Mark Harrison about a couple of new step templates that he's created for Azure App Configuration. So Azure App Configuration is like a key value store, similar to HashiCorp Vault. Basically, it's a location you can go to where you will see or get access to key value pairs. And so Mark, I made the analogy of, Jack Nicholson in the original Batman movie said, where does he get all those wonderful toys? And so I said that if step templates were like toys, then Mark Harrison would be the Batman of Octopus. And so the reason why is because he wrote a lot of these. And so he showcased what these things do relative to Azure App Configuration. So here he is in Azure App Config, showcasing a bunch of key value pairs. And then he's utilizing the step templates that he built to showcase how to pull those into a deployment process. He's also got a step template that will write them back as well. And so you can bind these to a variety of variables you have inside of your deployment processes, which is great. You'll find these up on the library if you go to library.octopus.com, and you can search for them there. So I won't worry about that page loading. But if that's where you go, you'll see these listed there. This is what they look like in the library. And so you can retrieve values. You can also write them back. And so I thought that was a cool little video that we did. And then earlier today, we hosted a webinar. Adam and Bob hosted a webinar entitled Solving a Microservice Orchestration Pain with Octopus Deploy. It's a bit of a longer one. This one's about 57 minutes, but in the video, they talked a great deal about microservices. And we had a lot of questions about, mono repos versus microservices, et cetera, how Octopus can help alleviate the pain. And so they talked a lot about this. This was a pretty thorough webinar, which features some demos that Adam showcased. And so that's a video that we also have available up on our YouTube channel. If you're at all curious, you can check out our webinars. We've got our next one in January. So we're not resting on our laurels. We're starting off with a bang. So on the 11th, I'll be running the Octopus 101. And we'll be adding a whole boatload of new webinars. So they're not on the list yet, but they will be very soon. You can also catch the recording of all the other webinars that we've done. So the one that I just showed you is this one here. We've already posted that to our website. And so you can check out all the release webinars that we've done over the past number of months. So it's been very, very hectic. We talked earlier about 2024 being pretty hectic. It's a good example of kind of like all the stuff that we've been doing there. So that's pretty awesome.
Is it going to slow down a little bit over the break, or going to keep
That's
going?
right. No rest for the wicked. I'm just going to continue to go.
Okay.
So this is something that I didn't plan on talking about until next week, but whatever. It's Deployment Friday. Let's go ahead and showcase it. So this is a solution called Octolint from this is from the solutions team. The solutions teams worked very closely with partners and customers, and they have this repo which is called Octolint, and this was built by Matt Casperson. And this is a cool little tool. So Octolint is a linter for your Octopus instance. It's a command line tool, and you just run it. And when you do, it will run a set of rules. It will do a read-only scan of your Octopus instance and compare that to a set of rules, and then look at the rules and say, oh, this is actually in violation of the rules. And we have some rules listed in here that you can check out if you want. They're underneath the internal. And then you have a bunch of checks and rules that run against these things. So you can see these are some of the rules that we've done relative to performance or your organizational structure. These and other rules are structured within here, and it will do a comparison. And to showcase what this looks like, I've got ahead and run this already. So this API key is no longer valid after this recording, so don't worry about hitting this. But you'll run this tool, Octolint, on the command line, and then it will basically generate something that looks like this. So it's running the set of rules against this instance and then producing a report to tell you things like, hey, the following variables may not be unused. not sorry, may be unused, and so you may want to check to see whether they're required. The following life cycles have retention policies that keep releases or files forever. So the default life cycle, for example. These and other rules are basically in violation of these things. So the following API keys do not expire, for example. And obviously we don't emit the entire API key, but these are things that don't have an expiry to them. So these and other rules, like a good linter does, notifies you if you're maintaining an Octopus instance, hey, these are things that you should probably look at. And you can run this tool and get a general sense of what's found there. Now, to prove that this is read-only, I've also got Fiddler running. So this is a scan that I ran earlier. And you can see, if you take a look at the get method here, sorry, the method column here, they're all gets. So they're all read-only. So there's no puts, there's no deletes. It's all gets. And obviously we had some invalid reads there, but that's fine. But basically, we scan your instance, and then we compare those results to those rules, as I said earlier, and we generate this report. And so that's Octolint, a new tool that is available, and you can check out the repo, which is here. And I will be talking to Matt Casperson very soon about this. So stay tuned for that video. Matt and I will talk about Octolint. He'll showcase some demos. We'll talk about how it was built, and we'll probably publish that next week. So stay tuned for that. But I thought this was a tool that was too cool to not talk about. So what do you think about this, Jim?
Cool.
Pretty cool?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, there's so many ways you can hold Octopus, right? There's so many ways you can configure it that sometimes, help. This can only help with that bit of success, right?
That's right. And so some side inside baseball sort of thing here. So this was built in Go, and it is, if you look closely, it's actually using down here. So if you haven't seen Go before, don't worry. This is sort of the akin to a .config or a list of dependencies. This go.mod file is your dependencies for building this thing. And inside here, there is a Go library that's referenced, which is, let's just take a look. It's Go-Octopus Deploy. There it is right there. So this Go library here is the same Go library that's used by the Terraform provider. And so we're reusing the same libs that powers the Terraform provider, that powers the CLI. So the Octopus CLI that we highlighted last week is also using this library. So Matt did the right thing. He used our Go API client library, which is this thing here, and he's using that basically to pull down all that data and then inspect it against a set of rules. The reason why this is nice, because it's also open source, is the fact that obviously you can add to those rules if you so wish. And so you could add your own rules if you wanted to. And then the linter, being a linter, just does a read-only check, will notify you if anything's in violation. I thought it was kind of cool. This is a great little tool. And kudos to Matt for writing this. And I'm a huge fan of these types of tools. So that's awesome. All right. Wrapping things up, the CNCF has announced or welcomes 25 new silver members, and we are amongst the list. So if you scroll down here, you see a bunch of well-known folks, including ourselves. So Octopus Deploy sets the standards for deployment automations for DevOps, helping software teams deploy freely when and where they need in a routine way. So we are very proud to be a member of the CNCF, or the Cloud Native Computing Foundation, and we are a sponsor of this and the Linux Foundation, as well as the CD Foundation. So we're very proud to be part of this, and so that's awesome. I'm very happy that this is now a thing. So that's good. And that, as they say, wraps it up for another week of Deploy on Friday. Jim, we're getting close to the holiday season. Any resolutions relative to your code you want to put on record here before we wrap things up?
I would
I'm
never
going
put
to unit
anything
test
like
my
that on
code
record.
as a personal resolution.
I'd never record that, John. Don't be ridiculous.
That's right. Oh, I want 100% code coverage. That's right. That's like I'm going to
If
lose
I
weight
make,
and have 100% code coverage.
if I'm ever going to make promises like that, it would definitely only be to myself and not out loud.
Well, anyways, if you happen to stumble upon this video and you've never seen it before, feel free to like and subscribe. Let us know in the comment section if there's something you'd like us to take a look at. And until next time, we will see you on the next edition of Deploy on Friday. So happy deployments until then. Take care.